When you hire an attorney to help with your loved one's estate, the first thing you should expect is a compassionate and competent professional on the other side. The first thing you can do to help that attorney is to make sure that you gather all the initial documents relating to your loved one's assets that you have available. If they had a will, you want to make sure they get the will. If there's a death certificate, that's essential for any attorney through the probate process. From there, the next thing you can do is to make sure that that attorney is advised of the assets if you know them, or that you aggregate the mail of your loved one, of the deceased, and that helps aid in the discovery of assets and the administration of the estate. So in an estate matter, the typical fees that you would initially expect would be a consultation fee to a probate attorney who would help you in reviewing the initial documents you have, the death certificate, the documents regarding assets, and in that consultation they would start to perform initial investigation about real estate assets or any other assets that they can obtain information on in about a 1 to 2 hour meeting. And that fee is typically a few $100s. From there, if an attorney is retained, they can be retained on two bases. The first is where the attorney is hired to serve in the role as personal representative, where they take on all of the responsibility as a fiduciary to aggregate the property, to administer the estate. And the other way is that where an attorney is hired by the hour, and their hourly fee is dictated by a number of factors, including their experience as well as the prevailing fee in that particular city or town. Here in the state of Maryland, a typical hourly fee would range anywhere from $250 to $400. So we get several important questions from prospective clients regarding their loved one's estate. The first would be, what's the first thing I should do regarding this estate? And the answer to that is the first thing you should do is take your time, make sure that you go through the grieving process, and we're here to help you along the way and take the load off your shoulders. Initial things you can do to help would be to aggregate some of the information that came, maybe important documents, a folder or a filing cabinet or something like that, and drop those off at our office for safeguard. The other would be to identify if there is a will, if there's a safety deposit box, things like that. Another question is, I get from people is, how do I go about finding out what's in the will, or what happens if I'm written out of the will? The answer to the first is, there is either a will or there's not. Sometimes the local register of wills will have your loved one's last will and testament on file, but many times they don't, and that document's usually found somewhere with important legal papers, in a firebox, in a safety deposit box, that sort of thing. Sometimes we have to open an estate without a will in order to find the will in a security deposit box or something of that kind. The last issue deals with the contents of the will. If your siblings or other people involved in the estate have not provided you with a copy of the will, and it has been filed, those are public records that you can order from the Register of Wills here, and we can help you through that process. From there, if you are written out of the will and you believe that your loved one was taken advantage of, there are options to take exceptions, called a caveat, to the will and conduct some other investigation or litigation about that issue. There are some common issues that we see in most people's estates. The first is, what are we going to do with all of my mother, father, brothers, sisters, things that are in the house? And that's all of the, what we call household chattel. That's all the personal property, the vases, the books, etc., that you accumulate in your lifetime. And usually what we encourage, if it's appropriate under the will, is that the loved ones meet and identify items of some sentimental value, and make sure that they come to some sort of joint family agreement on those issues. If there are items in the house that are more valuable, then it's the personal representative's duty to make sure those are safeguarded and to identify them and have those appraised. All of these are things that we help families do on a regular basis.